Are we ready?
I call to order the recessed meeting of the Dickinson County School Board. This meeting was recessed for two agenda matters. The first is issue associated with the opening of a school, which will be held in open session. The second issue deals with the litigation associated with the elementary school, which will be held in closed session. Before we get to the meeting, I believe we need to deal with the issue of Dr. Lyle participating by phone. I understand this is the same procedure we went through last week with Mr. Hicks. I note for the record that the division superintendent and all members are present except for Dr. Lyle. One wishes to participate in this meeting electronically. Dr. Lyle has notified me that he cannot be present due to a temporary condition. Dr. Lyle, is that correct?
Yes.
Could you identify the problem as a medical condition?
A medical issue.
Could I get a motion on that?
To be clear, the motion needs to be to allow Dr. Lyle to participate electronically.
Okay.
I make the motion we allow Dr. Lyle to participate electronically.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to section 2.2, 3711, paragraph A7 of the code.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I think that we have, Ms. Robinson, are you presenting on an open session issue?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Yes, sir, I am. Thank you. Dr. Lyle, can you hear us?
I can barely hear, but I did hear that, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to speak a little bit louder.
I can hear you. It's the others I can't hear. but
Okay,
that's
so
all
the
right.
others need to speak louder. Okay, thank you, sir. Board members, some of you have spoken to me about the beginning of school and the reopening of school with some concerns regarding the date that we have set, along with what is happening in our county and in our region. And after much thought and reflection, I am going to recommend that the Dickinson County Public Schools reopen schools on Monday, October the 24th, 2020. My recommendation is that on Monday, August 24th, schools either open under the hybrid schedule, remote, or all schools totally open 100% remote. For your information, I have a draft of the proposed 2020-21 calendar.
I got confused in that date. As long as it was the 17th, wasn't it?
That was the recommendation last week, was the 17th. So I guess you explain why we're changing it.
The reasons for the recommendation to August the 24th are the following. Number one, just the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in our region and allowing us more time and data to begin consideration of the issue. Allowing the school division the necessary time to recommend the best way to begin schools, whether hybrid, remote, or virtual or total remote, based on the best data available. Providing adequate time for the school division to address changes in the CDC guidelines, the VDH guidelines, and the VDOE guidelines, and then providing further time to implement safety protocols at all of our schools. You see before you a calendar, and if Mr. Mullins is present, Mr. Mullins, would you like to, I have a copy of the calendar. Would you like to review the calendar very quickly?
Yes. Sorry about that. basically we have
Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Thank you, Adam. Not many changes, but basically what we're looking at here is pushing the start date back to Monday, August 24th. This would move the end of the first semester into January. Originally, we tried to end the first semester in December at Christmas break, but this would move the first semester, the ending date to Friday, January the 15th. Then we would begin the second semester, of course, in January on the 19th, and the end date for school would now be Friday, May the 28th. That would be day 180. Originally, we had looked at 190 days. We had moved that to 180 days. This calendar is for 180 days. So the beginning date would be August 24th. The first semester would now end in January, January the 15th, and the end date projected Friday, May the 28th. We would leave all the other holidays and breaks, they would all remain the same. Labor Day, Election Day, Thanksgiving, and the Christmas break would all stay the same the first semester. The second semester, spring break and Easter break would remain 2 long weekends as had been approved originally. So basically, we're pushing everything back 1 week.
Other questions from the board regarding the recommendation? We discussed this last week, and we knew then that this might be an issue for us as we started the year. We don't want to every week change the calendar. That's not the point, but we do want to make certain that we have all the data and all the necessary information that we need to begin school. Last Thursday, July the 23rd, the CDC revised its guidelines for students attending school and regarding screenings, which has caused, of course, a domino effect in health plans and individual school plans. This is an ever-changing situation. School divisions all around us, of course, have changed and delayed their beginning of school, some later than ours. I am not recommending that, but I am recommending that if the board will approve the 24th, with the understanding that hopefully we can start with hybrid face-to-face and remote for those selected students, or that we start total remote for all of our students. And so we just like to give that date to our parents, and hopefully we will be able to follow that.
What will determine exactly what you do at that time?
That's a great question, Mr. Rasnick, and of course that will be determined by the board, by the school board. But I think we would consult I know that we would consult the Virginia Department of Health, look at our numbers, our baselines, and look at their recommendation to see what their recommendations would be to begin. So we would be in contact with the Virginia Department of Education and also the Virginia Department of Health.
What information do you have on Dickinson County specifically? Where do we stand now as far as COVID?
I think we have 10 active cases as of the last information that I had. The numbers have increased, and with Dr. Cantrell and a state superintendent's phone call this past Tuesday, the area around Dixon County and our region was shown in red. And of course, you know, our comment was red is never good. But it's not necessarily just what's in Dixon County, but it's all the region around us. I know Lee County, and I don't want to mention specific counties, but there are counties around us, their numbers are just really extremely spiking. And so it's not, we may not necessarily be spiking, although, you know, 10 for us, I'm sure some people think that's spiking, but it's really the region around us and the school divisions around us and the counties around us.
We had something happen regarding a driver that delivers to a facility that I work with in another way, and he ended up having COVID, and all the people at the facility had to be tested then. You know, I was thinking of all the people, all the vendors and what have you to come into the school. What plan, I don't know that I saw that in the plan that we talked about or not. What do we have for people coming in, you know, delivering milk or food or whatever else they might have? Do we have that covered as well?
Yes, sir, we do. And of course, they will have a specific, they'll have to have their temperature taken, they'll have to wear a mask, they'll have to observe social distancing from the other co-workers in the cafeteria. They will be allowed in the building, but as far as any other visitors or anyone else, we are restricting that for the beginning of the school year. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But they will continue to have to deliver milk, and many times, Mr. Rasnick, as you well know, they will come before school begins, so there, you know, of course, there's never any students in the cafeteria, but we may have a smaller staff. But I know that Mrs. Compton has covered that, and I'll be glad to share that with you and the board as to what the steps. But for anyone that's coming into the building, the mask,
Yes.
the social distancing, all of those kinds of things will be observed.
That's very good. We will always have someone in the building when they come. That's the thing, for sure.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely
Okay.
correct, especially with the milk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Other questions or comments, or?
I raised a question last week about, one of my concerns was, you know, I do want to get started, was, you know, feeling good about starting on the 17th, but one of the concerns I had last week was the Chromebooks, and we didn't really know then. Do we have any more information this week about when we may receive the Chromebooks?
The Chromebooks will be in at the end of August.
At the end of August?
Yes, sir.
So that another week gives us a little more.
Well, we have enough Chromebooks in our schools right now to be able to distribute to our students. And so when we receive the shipment of Chromebooks, they will supply what we are currently giving to our students. So that is not as big of an issue right now, but we do feel, and our technology department has done an excellent job of getting Chromebooks, and then we have purchased computers also for our CTE staff.
Was the CURES money sufficient to get equipment for everyone, personal protection, et cetera? Did that provide? I saw in Tennessee, I think I heard last night on the news that they had like $85,000 per to outfit every employee, make sure everybody's covered entirely, and I don't know if Virginia has anything along that line or not.
Yes, sir, we do, and I'm going to ask Mr. Barton. Did you hear the question, Mr. Barton? If you can come to the front, please. And Mr. Rasnick can share the question with you. It has to do with the CARES Act and the PPE equipment that has been purchased for our staff.
Yes. Mr. Rasnick, we have used CARES Act funding to make those purchases, and we've worked closely with Ms. Dodson, our nursing coordinator. We have face coverings, cloth face coverings, which are washable, reusable for all children, all staff. We have the disposable face coverings, and then all the PPE equipment that's needed for each area, like the equipment needed for the bus drivers, you know, the face shields, the different things, the cafeteria workers, and then, you know, with our custodial staff, we have the full PPE for custodial staff, nurses, folks like that with the whole, you know, isolation gowns. For instance, we may have the coveralls with all the, you know, N95 masks, the foot coverings, the whole works, if they have to do any cleanup in any areas that's contaminated. So we do have a sufficient supply starting out, so.
I just wonder when I heard that, I didn't hear any money. I don't think I heard a dollar amount on that, and it struck me as just $85,000 sounded like a lot, but it
Right.
depends on, I guess, how big your facility is and how many people you're dealing with. But
Exactly.
I just want to make sure that we have everything that we possibly need there.
Yes, we have everything we need to get started out, so.
Okay, very well. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I've had the opportunity for the last, I guess since Monday, we have had a Google Meet with all of our staff members. Our last school is tomorrow with Ridgeview High School. We have gone through the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that we went through last week, and it allows the staff members to ask questions, a lot of questions. I just want to make sure that they understand the precautions that we are taking for their health and their safety, and be available to answer their questions, and be able to, as I shared with them, we are not COVID. We will have COVID. We will have to address COVID in our school system. We know that. We can't reduce that, can't take that away, but what we do want to do is be able to provide, lessen all the risks that we can by having all the precautions that we can in place.
Well, we were here over 5 hours last week, and that was a lot of information and a lot of other information besides this combined with all that, and some of it, may have gotten by some of us. But I would like to hear you again. How did we let our stakeholders know about this, as well as our employees? How do our parents and other caregivers, how do they know what we're doing and how we're doing it? Do they get a copy of the PowerPoint somehow, or?
The PowerPoint presentation was placed on the DCPS website for parents. They also received a letter that we posted on the website and also on Facebook and social media, and I think that there was an article in the paper also that covered some of that. So as those are the means right now that we have to communicate with parents, and certainly we've taken a lot of phone calls. We have, all of our schools have gone through a lot of phone calls, as we have at the central office, just talking to parents.
I was
But
just
the
curious.
information is on the website.
I was curious, for those people who don't have the internet, would they have as much detail as the other folks, or how would
Yes,
we
sir,
ring-
they do. If
Okay.
someone does not have internet, then what we ask them to do is call the school board office, and we will mail them the information. We will mail them the letter, we will email them the PowerPoint presentation, and we will be available to answer any of their questions.
Very good.
I want to make certain that they know exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And also, our best communicators are our teachers and our staff. And so if we can communicate with them and they know, then there are great communicators out in the community and with our parents and community members.
Well, I think you all done an excellent job. I know all the counties are working together in this, and probably all around the state. I mean,
Yes.
they're doing similar things, but it sure helps to have every person to have information, and it takes a little fear away and makes people feel better. And this is going to be a massive task for us to all be successful in this, and everybody has to pull their weight and do what they have to do. It's a different world out there this time, and we know that.
It is, and that's exactly, Mr. Rasnick, what we've talked about in our meets, is that it's going to take all of us. This isn't the task of the principal or only the school board members. This is all of us working together as a community.
Absolutely.
And but it's a noble cause, and we need to all come together as a community. We've done that in the past, so I know we can do that again.
I guess they think they're overwhelmed with information, as I
They
felt
are.
last week, but
They are.
it is critical that everybody has access to that, whatever use they make of that.
They are. The other thing that we have done this week, just to make sure that our numbers are accurate, is that we've asked our parents that want to go remote, total remote, to complete an application. And parents, we understand, parents are concerned. They don't know what to do. They are hearing different things from different sources, and they're just worried about their children. And so,
Some of these kids' life plans have changed. I mean, the dates changing, the school changing. Some people make plans in their future 5 years ahead, and just to change them a date or something
absolutely.
makes a difference in,
Yeah.
what the choice may be 4 years from now. I'm sure some parents map it out that far ahead or further,
They
and
do.
this is just a different day and time that we're dealing with. I just hope we can make that as agreeable and as flexible as we
I
can
hope
with
that-
those people.
I hope that we can, and we're all trying very hard with that. What I tell our staff is that there is not going to be a perfect plan, but if we don't have a perfect plan, then we'll make it better. But we have made, all the decisions have been made just based on how do we keep our students and our staff safe, and how do we try to provide a quality instruction for our children.
And make these parents and grandparents feel somehow at ease. I know the strain
I
is going to be on
hope
all
so.
those folks, but
I hope
I
so.
think you all done an excellent job. I certainly applaud the work you've done. And,
Well, thank you very
appreciate
much.
it very
And,
much.
and when we get closer, I'd love for you to invite the board, to come and see the things that are in place now in the hallways, and traffic flow, and the bottle fillers, and all the things that have gone into place. Our principals, our staff have worked very hard to get our buildings ready.
I know we had spoke briefly and about the length of the school day, or starting the school day at a different time. Is that still something we're looking at, or?
Not at this time, sir. We're still looking at middle school and high school from 8 till 3, and the elementary schools from 8:15 till 3:15. I think what you may be referring to is that since there are no communal areas, staff members will need to come in earlier on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so that they can supervise students in the classrooms, because students will be unloading from the buses, and then they can't go to the gym, they can't go in the cafeteria and gather, so they have to go immediately to their homerooms, which is the safest place for them.
In the evenings, how do you dismiss them that way? They can't go anywhere else
That's
either.
correct. They cannot go anywhere else, so we will dismiss them either by bus number only, one bus at a time, or homeroom at a time. Also, as you recall, Mr. Rasnick, on Cohort A and Cohort B, we will have half of the students. Okay? So we're not talking 400 students. We'll be less than 200 students. And so those numbers are manageable, either at the high school, at the middle school, or also at elementary schools. Good questions, thank you.
Do you anticipate it taking longer to load buses and them getting out of here?
Yes, sir, it does, it will. And of course, we forget, but we always go through that at the beginning of the year. You know, it's just trying to get into a routine. I think it will be the same way this time, and then as we get more comfortable with the process, not, observing social distancing, doing all those things, then it may go faster, it may not, but we are not going to jeopardize the safety or the health of our children with that.
People being on time is one thing, and having your bus drivers get used to this is going to take some time as well.
Yes.
And the patrons, obviously, again. If everybody's familiar with that schedule in a good way,
Yes, sir.
that will certainly help. The first week's always different. We know that from years of experience, but after it settles down, it should be an easy thing. But
It
kids,
will be.
But kids not dismissing in the way that they're not used to, they're going to have a huge learning curve here as well.
All of us will.
Stay up with and to move effectively and efficiently and safely.
Yeah, and that will also be when they unload in the morning. Unloading 3 or 4 buses at a time will not be an option. We'll unload one bus at a time using social distance, and then when we get those children through the bus, then we'll unload the others. Another difference this year is that all of our buses will travel to all of our schools. For example, if a bus is unloading at Sand Lake, then they will unload at Sand Lake, the elementary children. They'll unload at Ridgeview Middle School, and then they'll unload at Ridgeview High School. Before, we had shuttle buses. The students would go from one bus to another at the elementary school, okay? And some buses were there just waiting and then taking them on to the Ridgeview campus. Since we cannot mix the cohort of students, and shouldn't, and won't, then one bus will make all 3 stops in each of our...
Well, I actually think that's an improvement,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And so our transportation and Mr. Mooney trying to seat 22 children in a bus that may require 45, you know, there's a lot of things that need to play, but there will be some differences. And certainly for our bus drivers, our cooks, you know, we're going to continue feeding children. And we're going to continue providing meals for our children on Wednesdays. For those that are total remote, and those meals will either have to be delivered or picked up. Our plan now is that on Tuesdays, children that attend school on Monday and Tuesday will take meals home for the next 3 days on the bus, or parents can come and pick it up. For B group, the students will take home food on Friday for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the following week. So it's quite an undertaking. What I told, you know, I remind myself and I share with our staff is that since March the 13th, our school division and with our staff accomplished things that we never thought we would do or could do. And we fed a tremendous amount of children, provided instruction for the students, and under a phase 1 where everybody was, you know, in
I've looked at some of these other
quarantine.
plans, and I don't see anybody that has one there. I'm sure there are some that are similar and maybe some better, but I think you all handled it fine. I still have to worry, you know, I worry about our kids and kids all over this country, and I know that states are doing this different, even through athletics, and I certainly disagree with what some of them are doing. When they see the Major League Baseball, what happened there to the Marlins, I think, and the basketball, the NBA, you know, that should tell these folks, I know Tennessee, they're going to start their football on the regular schedule. They're
Yes,
not going
sir.
to have any preseason games and things like that. But it seems like you've got everything covered well. It's just, I worry about the things, I guess, I know our special ed children, our kids that have disabilities, I worry about that.
Yes,
I know
sir.
their world is going to be a lot different probably in ways and frightening to them, but I know they have good people working with them.
Yes.
But everybody just has to be on top of their game here. And it seems like you've got the outline, just have the people come and do
Well,
the job right.
We hope we do. That's our thought, and that also keeps me awake at night quite a bit, Mr. Resnick. Just making certain that we are doing all that we can, everything that we can
Well, we've
to
got
do that.
the best people, I think, in the world here in this
Well,
county, and I just know they'll
I'm
do the
I'm
right thing.
honored to work with them.
Absolutely.
They have they've done an excellent job just trying to bring everything together. And when we talk to superintendents in the region and in the state, everyone is where we are, struggling. Many school divisions have gone all virtual. You know, large school divisions have gone all virtual. And because of their numbers. And of course that caused me to pause and reflect
For what reason now?
because of the spiking numbers. And they're, you know, Henrico County,
Right.
Fairfax County, some of our larger school divisions have just gone all virtual and to begin the school year. And so that has caused me to pause and say, you know, maybe we're hurrying this, we're rushing this, maybe I don't want to go all hybrid and then we have to go to remote, or and that may happen anyway. All of
Well,
you know that.
I'll speak for myself in this. If I were a teacher coming back to this environment, I don't care where in this country I was going into that environment, I would be frightened.
Mhm.
And I think that every possible thing to do to alleviate those
Absolutely.
concerns need to be in place as best we can too.
Absolutely. And I think the greatest thing we can do is to recognize that our staff members are concerned, they are fearful, and I think we have to be very sensitive to that.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to do.
I want to go back briefly to something you mentioned about eliminating some of the shuttle switches
Yes, sir.
between bus runs. Are we looking at very many extended lengths as far as some of the runs that we're going to have in some of the outlying areas? Are we going to have some runs that become much longer? I know the shuttles, there are some issues with
shorten
them,
some
but
of the
shortens
time.
a lot of runs.
I have not heard that, Mr. Hackney, but I have not heard that, but I certainly will ask Mr. Mooney that question. I think if one of the, if there are 22 students on the bus, what sometimes lengthens the runs is the number of stops.
Yeah, you will have less stops, so.
If you have less stops.
That's true.
Then that eliminates some time. I'm not saying it eliminates all the time,
It will
but
balance
that
out
does
a lot.
eliminate some.
Stopping the bus, it does take, you have to count the minutes for each stop, and that, not having those stops all in place will definitely probably give you some extra time. But that's something that
Drivers
Mr. Mooney
will-
probably needs to look at.
Yeah, drivers will likely have to get used to, where we got different cohorts on where their stops are each day.
That, absolutely.
They may
That-
stop when they don't have to.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And one of the things that we mentioned last week was that, the bus stops may look a little differently. If we know that we are not picking up a certain family, we may be able to, although we're limited, maybe to able to change the route somehow.
Yeah, there may
I wish
be
you
a-
could send somebody to help those people that first day.
Yeah.
I
You
wish
may-
we could put somebody on every bus that could.
I know.
You may be able to eliminate a holler
Yeah.
or two here and there.
Yeah. So, it's a work in progress. We constantly, and I know that I've used this before, and I'm repeating myself, but we're really flying a plane while we're building it, and we just know we can't stop flying, and so we've just got to continue building, and but that's the way it feels like. I know that our staff feels frustrated. Our parents, what's going on, and what I share with our staff and our parents is, we've never gone through this before. So what you're feeling is very normal. We've never gone through a pandemic before, and so what you're feeling, I think, is what you're supposed to be feeling.
Ms. Robinson, it's obvious you all have done a good job, and I just hope that it comes together in a good way, and I think it will. I hope it will. I pray it will.
Please
But
please
we
join
have
us
to
in that.
But we have to be on top of this in every single day, and this is a different day,
Yes,
a
sir.
different time. We've never faced anything close to this in our lifetimes. Thank you.
And you're absolutely correct. This will take an entire community of school, staff, and parents working together to get us here, to get us to a successful year.
I heard somebody say it best, I think, the other day about the whole thing. We can have the best plan in the world, but it's going to be those adjustments along the way of how successful we'll be in it. And I'm sure, like you said, we're going to have to be flexible and we're going to have to work together. Had you found that any bus routes that by dividing up the cohorts that you still had too many students and you had to add some extra buses?
Mr. Mooney is just now working with that. I have not heard that. I'm sure we will have that, and when we do, we will have to either add a bus or something there. But we do plan on using all of our buses, and hopefully with some flexibility. Of course, the siblings can sit together, so that will help greatly.
That might not be good.
Yeah. I hope it is. I pray it
Would have been
is.
good for me and my brother, I'll tell you that right now.
I can relate to that.
We are going to, of course.
I'm having some trouble hearing the other board members' comments.
Okay. Let me turn it around for you, Dr. Lyle.
Jason just said he's going to fight with his brother.
Of course, we will be wearing masks on buses, but we'll just have to, as you say, adjust as we go. Adjust as we go. Other questions or good questions, and thank you. I know that we bombarded you last week and with information. Mr. Mullins, have I left anything out, sir? Okay. Okay. So the motion is, just the recommendation is there for the board to
I would
consider.
make the motion that school begin on August 24th,
Yes.
as the superintendent has indicated.
Yes, sir.
I'll
Thank-
second. All in favor?
Aye. And Dr. Lyle? Okay.
Thank you. If you have other questions or comments or anything, please let me know. One thing about COVID that we're finding is that for every question, and I think we discussed this last week, for every question you have, there's about 5 others. It's a domino effect, and that's very true. So I've learned to say, I don't know that at this time, but I certainly will get the answer for you. Our next item agenda will be the new elementary school construction and litigation, and I think we're going into closed session for that. Mr. Mullins?
I move we go to closed session pursuant to Section 2.23711, paragraph A7 of the Code of Virginia. There will be a closed meeting for the purpose of consulting with legal counsel and receive briefings by staff members pertaining to actual litigation with the Board of Supervisors and IDA regarding the location of the proposed new elementary school. Could I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.